welcome back to Cruising as Crew. My name is Lucy. Today we are going to do a Q&A about ship life, working on ships in general. I asked you on Instagram yesterday to send me your questions. Thank you so much to everyone who did. That's what I'm going to answer in this video. If you have any more questions that I don't answer, leave them in the comments. I also just want to say that I am going to start posting once a week again. There's a lot of stuff that I'm working on in the background, which I will tell you more about when it all comes to fruition, but I'm going to post every Sunday. I know that's what it says in my channel banner anyway, but for the last few weeks I've been posting twice a week. So just so you know, it's going to be just every Sunday for a few weeks, and then I'll let you in on what I've been doing. But yeah, let's get into this video. I know you don't get weekends off, but do you get like a week off during your contract or something? Okay, so no, that would be wonderful, but unfortunately not. So when you sign your cruise ship contract, whether it's a 9-month contract, a 6-month contract, a 4-month contract, you are signing to say that you are happy to work every single day during that contract. Now, whether you work all day, every day, that depends on what job you do. But no, you do not get weekends, you do not get days off, and you definitely do not get a block of time off during your contract. You'll get your block of time off at the end of your contract. So you'll do a 6-month contract and then you'll go home for 3 months, and that is the block of time that you get. So no, while you are on board, unless you break your foot or something, but then they'd probably send you home. Unless you get ill, you're not gonna get a block of time off. So how much do you earn as a childcare worker on a cruise ship? So it depends on the cruise line, it depends how qualified you are, if you've had experience before, but I would say between 1,200 to 1,500 as an entry level childcare worker. Again, I could be wrong because it does depend on the cruise line. For example, I know Disney pay a lot more than that, but generally, as a childcare worker, it's going to be between 1,200 to 1,500, and then you can obviously work your way up to earn more. I did my interview to work on guest services 2 months ago. I was told I got the job, but I haven't heard anything. You haven't heard anything? Okay. Don't panic. This is absolutely fine. In fact, it's very normal for the cruise line to say that you've got the job and then you don't hear from them for a while. Believe me, it's super frustrating, but it is normal. What I would say is just email your recruiter, email the company, and just remind them they usually hire a lot more people than they need at the current moment, because they have to have a pool of people that they can choose from to put on ships when spaces become available. So what my advice is for anyone who's in this situation is basically make yourself a nuisance. Send the recruiter an email every week until you get on board. It doesn't have to be rude. It literally just has to be hey, just emailing you to see any updates. We had our interview on this date. Obviously, as you know, you told me that I got the job. I just wondered, have you allocated a ship for me? How long can I expect to be waiting? Basically, this person is going to be I just want to get this person on a ship, so they stop emailing me. Previously worked for Steiner, want to change departments, please help. Okay, well, you'll be glad to know that this is something that many people who worked for Steiner go through. If you start working for Steiner, which for those of you who don't know, it's the spa on board cruise ships. If you work for Steiner, you either want to leave cruise ships and never go back, or you want to stay on cruise ships and work in a different department, which is exactly what happened to me. Now, I moved from Steiner into the shops because I was not really bothered about making money, if I am completely honest with you. I just still was in my wanting to travel and see the world and meet people and just have fun era. So you have to be really honest with yourself. Are you working on cruise ships because you want to travel, meet people, have fun? Or are you on cruise ships because you want to earn as much money as you can, develop your career, still travel and have fun, but obviously that's not the main priority. If it is the first one, like myself, apply to work for Harding Retail, you won't earn much money, if I'm completely honest. It'll be about $1,000 a month, maybe a little bit less. But if you end up on a cruise ship that's in a port every day, you're going to be off all the time. So you do get to really enjoy it. However, knowing what I know now, I would probably go to the art department. I had a friend who worked in the art department. She doesn't anymore, but she had a lot of time off and absolutely raked it in. So, and even if you don't have like any interest in art, you can learn, you can fake an interest in art. So the art department is a really good option. If you are more interested in making money, you're not so concerned about the time off. Trust that you'll still get more time off than working for Steiner, but you know, that's not your main priority. Future Voyages is a fantastic department to work in. Money's good, time off's good. In terms of actually changing department, if you want to work for the same cruise line, then you can basically talk to a different department about cross-training. So when I was on P&O, this is a long time ago now, and I was working in the shops, I was thinking about doing Future Voyages. So when I had time off from the shops, I would spend it cross-training to do Future Voyages. Now, obviously, this didn't happen for a myriad of reasons, but the point is you can cross-train in your time off, but you don't really get much if you're working for Steiner, or simply just go home at the end of your contract and apply for loads of different departments. If you want to work for the shops, apply at hardingretail.com. If you want to work in the art department, apply at whitewall.com or Park West. If you want to apply for a job selling Future Voyages or excursions or working in the kids department and you have to apply to the cruise line, it's for some reason harder and a lengthier process. So if you are still on board, then I would basically try and get as many contacts while you are still on board, get as many email addresses, get to know as many people as you can that are going to help you get that job. Or if you want to apply for an agency, like Steiner, like Harding, like Whitewall, like Park West, just apply online. Really easy, just apply online. And the fact that you have cruise ship experience, you'll get the job. Like, you'll get the job for sure. Can I work on a cruise ship at 18? The only company I know that hires 18-year-olds is Steiner, which is why usually girls that work in the spa and guys are the youngest on the cruise ship. So unless you want to work in the spa, no, you have to be 21. Do I need to buy uniform type clothes, or will I get a uniform when I am on board? This just depends on what job you are doing and what cruise line you are going on. For example, when I worked for Steiner, I got a uniform provided. When I worked for Harding Retail, I wore my own clothes. So I basically wore this, just black top, black trousers, black blazer. But it was my own, like I bought it myself. And then obviously when I worked for Virgin, I had a uniform provided. So it depends on the cruise line, it depends on your job, and your recruiter will tell you what you need to do. I would say like 90% of the time you will get a uniform. Yeah, like 90% of the time you will get a uniform. Whether you get it before you go or whether you get it when you were on board, you'll get a uniform. But as I said, if you are unsure, just ask your recruiter and they'll tell you exactly what you can expect uniform wise. But don't go and buy uniform unless your recruiter has specifically told you to do so. I've watched a load of your videos, they've helped me so much. Thank you, I'm so happy they've helped. You've mentioned IPM in your last video that I watched. Please explain what IPM is. IPM, okay. IPM stands for In Port Manning. Now basically, every crew member has an emergency duty on board the cruise ship. So when the cruise ship is in port, a certain amount of crew members have to stay on board that cruise ship so that if the cruise ship went into an emergency situation while it was in port, that, because, you know, it's not always sinking, it could be an oil spill, it could be a fire, like there has to be enough crew members still on board to deal with that emergency. So if I have IPM, it means that even if I'm not working, I cannot get off the ship. So I can do anything, like I can go to the buffet, I can go to the pool, I can enjoy my time on board the ship, but I'm just not allowed to get off because I need to stay on board in case the ship goes into a state of emergency, which thank God has never happened. And it is super annoying if you're on IPM. Like I remember one day I was in IPM and we were in Venice, and I planned this whole day out with my friends in Venice. And I was super annoyed that I was on IPM, because I was like, because obviously the ship didn't go into a state of emergency. You just have to stay on board in case the ship does. Because can you imagine if IPM wasn't a thing and every crew member that had time off got off the ship and something happened on board the cruise ship and then there was like barely any crew members to deal with it? You see? So that's what IPM is basically. Most of the time you will do IPM on rotation. So for example, when I was in the shops, we had a team on Oceania, we had a team of 20 people. So basically every 20 days I would be on IPM. It's really not that big of a deal. Please don't stress about it. Your manager will explain it more in depth, but that is basically what it is. It's what is the best cruise line to work for? Virgin. I was actually on the phone to my old manager the other day and we were just talking about how good Virgin was and how much we enjoyed it, and I knew how amazing it was when I was on there, but I also didn't. Do you know what I mean? You always like look back, like hindsight makes everything clearer, but definitely going to different cruise lines made me realise how incredible Virgin Voyages is. I did really enjoy Disney as well though, for very different reasons. So yeah, Virgin, then Disney. Hi Lucy, thank you for your videos. I am doing my medical next week. Woohoo! And I'm worried about failing. Okay, so I've done multiple videos on medicals, which you can watch. I'll link them down below. You really don't need to worry. You can literally watch the vlogs. I have failed my medical twice because of low iron. And I know many people who have failed their medical because they were overweight or because they had some deficiency or whatever. But the point is, it's very rare that the doctor will fail you and not give you a way out. For example, when they told me I had failed because of my low iron, they said, we're going to put you on iron supplements for a week. We're going to retake your blood after a week. And if your iron levels aren't even the right amount, but even if they up themselves slightly, we'll pass you. I knew a person who failed their medical because they were overweight, and the doctor was like, if you can lose 2 pounds in the next month, I'll pass you. Even though if he lost 2 pounds, he still wouldn't be the ideal weight. She's basically like, as long as you can prove to me that you're losing weight, I'll pass you. So the point is, like, the worst case scenario is that you will fail and then you will have to show that you're just improving whatever you failed on. So please do not worry. You will probably not fail. You will be fine. But even if you do fail, I failed twice and I still work on cruise ships. So you will be fine. Is working in the shops really the best job for time off? I want to work on cruise ships to travel. So I'm thinking about working in the shops for time off. The shops can only be open when the ship is at sea. So if you go on a cruise ship that is in port almost every day, you're barely going to be working. But if you go on a ship like Cunard, I think Queen Mary, that goes from New York to Southampton, it's in Southampton and then it's at sea for 7 days and then it's in New York and then it's at sea for 7 days, Southampton, sea, New York. You don't get any time off because the shops are constantly open because the ship is constantly at sea. So yes, the shops is the best department for time off in 90% of cases. So other jobs that are also good for time off, I would say, is working in the art gallery on board. It's not as good as the shops, but it's still decent. The casino, but of course you have to have experience working in a casino. Selling future voyages. I've always said if I was to do another job on board a cruise ship, it would be selling future voyages. And then the excursions department. The excursions department work. If you're a morning person, the excursions department will be great because you do have to be up at like 5 AM every morning to get people on their excursions. But then generally when people are on their excursions, you get some time off. So those are my picks for jobs on board that give the best time off. I've got a job on cruise ships and I'm really excited to start, but I can't help but worry, what if I get on board and I hate it? What will I do if I decide that I don't like it? Megan, if you get on board and you don't like it, you quit. It's as simple as that. And it will be very disappointing, of course, because you put so much time and energy and money into getting a job on board a cruise ship. But ultimately, if you get on board and you're like, this ain't for me, you can quit. But I do want to preface this with, you probably will feel that way for the first few months. I've said it before and I'll say it again. For the first 2 months of my first contract, I was like, what the hell have I done? This is awful. Like, what have I done? I'm working every hour God sends. I'm earning barely any money. I'm not very good at the job. Because I had to do public speaking. I'd never done public speaking before, so there was a huge learning curve. I was missing my parents. And honestly, the only reason I didn't book a flight home during that first 2 months, was because I was in Australia and I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to book a flight home. So I said to myself, the ship I was on was going to go to Europe from Australia. So I said to myself, I was like, you know what? If I get to Europe in the next few months and I still hate it, then I'll go home, you know? But obviously, luckily, by the time the ship got to Europe, I was living my best life. I had completely settled into it. I loved it. And as you guys can see, I've never looked back. But just know that it is going to take a few weeks for you to enjoy it. Very few people hit the ground running. Very few people start a cruise ship contract and they're like, this is amazing, because there's so much to learn. At the moment, I have orange hair, and I mean like bright orange, amazing. But I want to work on cruise ships. Do I have to dye my hair? This depends on the cruise line you end up working for. If you end up working for Virgin Voyages, no, probably not, because they're all about piercings, tattoos, wacky hair colours, like there's no problem. If you get a job for Cunard or Disney, yes. Yeah, you will have to dye your hair. You can have ginger hair, but it just has to look more natural. Wait until you've got the job before you dye anything. I had a septum piercing, I had loads of stuff. I waited until I got the job before I dyed my hair and took my piercings out. I know that the only place crew members can eat is the mess, but I really enjoy cooking. Is there a place that you can cook? I am afraid not. The only cooking that you will be able to do is buying noodles from the cruise shop and sticking them in the microwave. No, there is nowhere for you to cook on board. You will just eat in the mess or the buffet or one of the restaurants, wherever you can, and food will be served to you. When I worked on Royal Caribbean Radiance of the Seas in 2016, my really good friends that I worked with were from China. And they had basically a stove, and they had basically curated a full-on kitchen in their cabin. Obviously completely against the rules, not allowed. I'm not recommending this, I'm just telling you a story. They had got a whole kitchen set up, and every night I would go round to their cabin for hot pot. And it was great. So it's completely against the rules, but people do it. Had an interview with Harding Retail, but haven't heard anything after. Is this normal? Yes, it's unfortunately it's normal. Basically just make yourself a nuisance. Same as the advice I gave. Keep emailing. Be polite. There's no need to be rude. Hey, hope you're having a nice day. We had an interview on this date. Just wondered if you had any information. If you keep emailing, you keep yourself at the forefront of the recruiter's mind. They will ultimately just want to get rid of you, because you emailing them will annoy them, and they will either get you on a ship or give you your answer a lot quicker. So send very nice, very polite emails regularly. More on the C1D visa and the interview process. Okay, this obviously depends where you're from, your embassy and stuff, but I can only speak from my experience. It's the easiest thing in the world. I got my C1D visa 9 years ago, very long time ago, so it's been a while. But basically I just turned up at the embassy, waited for about an hour to be called over to a little booth where they asked me a few questions. And I mean questions like, what's your date of birth? What's your name? What's your address? Why do you want to work on cruise ships? What are you going to do on cruise ships? Like it felt like I was just having a friendly conversation with someone at a booth, and they're like, cool. And then they take your passport. If I can remember, yeah, I think they take your passport and you get your passport back in a few weeks with your C1D visa inside of it. Please do not stress out about the interview. It's really not that scary. You will get your C1D visa. You know, you're not applying for American citizenship, okay? You're applying to work in American waters. You'll get your C1D visa. Please do not worry about it. I've literally never heard of anyone not getting their C1D visa. It's fine. So as long as you know your date of birth, as long as you know your name and your address, you are good. Should I apply for cruise ships at 27 years old? Yeah, for sure. My kind of belief in life is that you should do whatever you want to do. It's so much better to try something and fail or not like it. You're never going to fail, but it's better to try something and decide you don't like it and know that you've done it than always wonder what it would have been like if you'd have tried it. So I don't care if you're 21, 27, 35, 45, 57, 60, 70. Like, if you want to work on cruise ships, work on cruise ships. There are a lot of questions about harding and working in the shops. So I think I will make a separate video on that, just talking about harding retail in general and working in the shops on board cruise ships. So yeah, any more questions for that video, leave them in the comments and I will maybe do a Q&A or just an informative video on harding retail and what it's like to work for them and what you can expect, because otherwise this video is going to be an hour long. Alright guys, thank you so much for asking those questions. I really hope you found this video helpful. Any more questions or any more questions about harding, let me know down below, and I will see you in the next video. But I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day and I'm sending you lots of love. Mwah! Bye!